We all know the story. God used Moses to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt, and they saw all these amazing signs and wonders and miracles, and they still had trouble trusting that God would take care of them. And, we're pretty hard on them. And a lot of times we hear this preached as don't complain and, trust God, have more faith. And it is true, it is true that their doubt and their unbelief and their negativity and rebellion hindered God's blessings in their life. But what if the message is not have more faith or stop complaining? What if the point that God is trying to get across here is that slave nature has to die in the wilderness? Because slaves can never inherit and steward properly their promised land. Because of Adam's trade with Lucifer, he went from a position of authority and dominion over all of creation to being subservient to it. Remember, he had to work by the sweat of his brow. Sounds like slavery to me. So God's plan was not to improve the fallen version of us. His plan was not to improve the slave nature. His plan all along was to annihilate us. This is why Yeshua in Revelation is called the Lamb slain from before the foundation of the world. God's divine plan all along was that we would die in Him and be resurrected in Him, an entirely different creation. One that's no longer of the DNA of Adam, one that is of his very DNA, one that can rule and reign with him once more, one that can steward those miraculous promises. So you might be asking, what does this mean for me? Well, it means dying to your old ways of thinking, your old ways of doing things, to your own ability to produce something supernatural. It means dying in the wilderness so that you can enter the land of promise. It means taking up your cross, understanding that in the kingdom of God, death is always under resurrection and ascension. So in this class, we're going to be talking about the classroom of co-creation, which is a real place in the realm of the Spirit. But you have to understand that co-creating with God cannot be a work of the flesh. Christ living through you must be the one to enter that classroom and, wearing your skin, co-create with the Father. So by faith, you appropriate the work of the cross to that old man, that one that's faithless and despondent and striving and depressed or whatever the case may be. And that person died with Christ and has been resurrected, except it's not you anymore that lives, it's Christ. He can do perfectly and effortlessly through you what He's been doing from the very beginning. He can produce those miracles your flesh can't. He has no problem believing Himself, and He has no problem co-creating with the Father. He's been doing it from the very beginning. In the very beginning, the living expression was already there. And the living expression was with God, yet fully God. They were together face to face in the very beginning. And through His creative inspiration, this living expression made all things. For nothing has existence apart from Him. Life came into being because of Him, for His life is light for all humanity. And this living expression is the light that bursts through gloom, the light that darkness could not diminish. So your natural life has all kinds of limitations. So anytime you choose to be your own source, whether it's out of fear or just habit or just because you didn't know not to, you're automatically embracing limitation. But when you access the life of Christ, when you appropriate the work of the cross and you let Him live through you, He can't help but to be miraculous.